Hey, what's going on everybody? Brandon Charleston here, coming at you with another quick tutorial for all things AI automation and all that. So if you haven't come across this channel, I post about tutorials, anything that you can use in order to save time, save money, and make more money ultimately in your business and your operations. So with that, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate a pretty cool tool that I came across. The founder reached out to me. This video is not sponsored or anything like that. It's purely my demonstration purposes to show you the type of tools that you can use. So this tool is pretty cool. It's essentially a Calendly or a cal.com, as well as a Loom or any sort of video recording platform that you may or may not use. And this is basically putting those two together so you can do personalized video outreach at scale. So the intent here is to be able to book more meetings, obviously, and essentially put that little bit of personalized touch for any sort of video outreach. And so I'm going to show you a walkthrough as far as how I would use it inside Clay and then automate it. And so that way you can essentially generate personalized videos, put it into either an email sequence like Instantly or Smart Leads, or use a omni-channel approach like the Growth Machine or HeyReach or any of the other ones that are out there. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So you can see here, I am at Weezly.com. Essentially, they have a 14-day free trial. Basically, they have an ever-evolving amount of features that they're constantly rolling out. They just told me today that they updated their Chrome extension. I haven't yet been able to test that, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty well done since they're pretty excited about it, right? So obviously, check into Weezly, and then you just want to create an account. Go ahead and log in. And for me, I already created an account for time purposes here. But what you're going to want to do is get yourself established, create a profile. What I would also recommend you do is connect your Google or your Outlook or whatever, calendar service that you're going to use. Making sure those are connected and that you have your availability windows set. And so this is no different than what you would typically see in any sort of like Calendly or cal.com scheduling agent, right? And so make sure that that's connected, and then you'll have a live booking page where you can essentially send them to your prospects. But then what the real meat and potatoes of this video is dynamic videos. So you'll see here that we'll go to the dynamic videos section. And essentially within Weezly, you're going to want to create a campaign. And essentially what you're just going to do is you're just going to hit create. And then in this instance, we're going to want to create unlimited videos because that's what we want to do, right? So we're going to create unlimited videos, and then we're just going to call this Weezly Demo 3 because I don't know how many demonstrations I've done. And then you can see here I have a couple examples already recorded, but essentially what you're going to want to do is record a very quick, hey, how's it going type of thing, say your spiel, and then basically leave that as is. You don't want to say any names or anything like that. In this particular version, they don't have that watermelon, any sort of deep fake feature as of yet. And so if you haven't already seen those, it's subjective. I think they're great tools and things like that, but it has to obviously be polished and believable, right? So this one is just very generalized. So I would just say something like, hey there, say your name. I came across your website, blah, blah, blah. Make your pitch for whatever product or service that you're offering, and then just leave that as is. And so you can simply hit record a message, or you can script it out, whatever your flavor is, put your makeup, do your hair. Obviously don't have any right now, but do you to make sure you're good on camera, right? So from there, we are I'm just going to select this, and then we're going to hit enter website. Now in here, you're not going to need to put any sort of leads or anything like that, although you can import a CSV. You can essentially do everything on the front end here with Weezly, but the way I like to do things is through API calls and put some Clay sauce to it, right? And so what I'm going to do is just leave this blank, and then I it's subjective. The auto scroll, I mean, you can add that. You don't have to. Really, what it comes down to is you making it look natural and not too forced, right? That's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that off for now. And then in the video title, this is where that little bit of touch comes into play. And so essentially, it's going to have a landing page with their name. This other part too is going to have essentially an overlay or a graphic, a very simple graphic, just to say hi, first name, right? To me, as a video editor and somebody who went to film school, I personally like to make sure that image quality is dialed in and it doesn't look pretty, hacked up, if you will. But if you would like to put that on there as well, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do it for demonstration purposes so you can decide whether it's going to be good for you or not. So I'm just going to say hi, and then I'm going to hit personalize. And then you could see here, it says first name and then there. So this is going to be what you call spin text. And so if, let's say your list, has first name, and then there's something that's just blank, or you don't have a first name, right? So it's essentially just going to say hi, first name, and basically it's going to jump between either first name or hi there, right? So I would say that this was more of a fallback, but spin text is going to spin it, right? And so obviously you want to do just first name, but in most cases, you're going to want to just, it's going to say hi there or hi, first name. So if you don't know what spin text is, that's what that means. And then we're going to say, we're just going to keep it simple. Let's see here. All right. And then, okay, so this is the other part too. So when you put together a campaign, you're going to have your input, which are obviously leads, right? You're going to score them, and we'll dive deeper into that here in a second. But then what does that look like in terms of delivery, right? Are you getting inbound leads and then you want them to book? Are you going to try and do demonstration purposes? Are you doing cold outreach? So that way, you want to have an basically an overarching flow. You want to have a good vision on what that looks like from a marketing funnel standpoint to be able to nurture that and have the pipeline as smooth as possible, right? Or the client or candidate journey, I should say. So for all your recruiters out there. But anyway, what you want to do is include booking page. I personally think it's better to do it that way. That way you could just say, hey, check my calendar on the right or the left, and then book a time that works best for you, right? So we're going to hit create dynamic video because the campaign here is set up, good to go. All right, now from here, there's a couple things before we jump into Clay. So you're going to want to go to settings, and then you're going to see API credentials here, right? So essentially you're going to want to look at your API key. Now you can see what my API key is right here. Doesn't matter, it's going to be regenerate anyway, so feel free to do what you want. In that case, you're going to see your API key, and then check the API documentation. I actually already have it pulled up right here. But this is really where it's going to become critical to review the documents because that way you'll be able to understand, what call you're going to want to do, although you're in good hands because I'm going to walk you through that. But essentially we are going into here and we are creating, let's see here. We want to create add videos to campaign. And for some reason it's not populating. But like I said, you're in good hands. So we are going to jump out of it. And then the other part too is you're going to want to go to integrations. And then you're going to want to scroll down. Now you can obviously see these are all the integrations that they have, but not to get off course. You can poke around on that. You're going to want to go to webhooks. And then we are going to want to turn on webhooks. Well, we're going to want to go to webhook dynamic videos. So there's two tabs right here, webhook dynamic videos. You want to turn it on, right? And click create a new webhook, okay? And then this is where you're going to want to go to Clay. Oh, got the experts page going on here. Darn it, I'm messing up. Stay on track. Okay. So, actually, I'm just going to go right to where I'm at here. So this is essentially where step 2 is coming into play, but nonetheless, what you want to do is to create a new table. And so, you know what, we're just going to duplicate this just to keep it nice and simple and so I don't lose you here. So we're just going to hit new, right? You're going to hit new table. And then all you got to do is import data from webhook. So you're going to click on this. We're going to hit new blank table. And then what you'll see here, it's going to populate a webhook URL. All you have to do is just copy that, and then we're going to go into Weezly, and you're just going to hit new webhook, call this Clay, you know, whatever you wish, and then you're just going to push, or you're going to put that URL in there, so that way it's going to be sent from there. And then the other thing, just to make sure, yep, that's it. Oh, okay, this is what I was looking for. So you see this drop down right here. You're going to want to click on that, and then we want to apply this to all campaigns, right? And so just for this instance, we're just going to push all the personalized videos through that one campaign, because in that campaign, all we're doing is taking a snapshot of their website, and we're putting our generalized greeting, right? And so it's going to be pretty applicable to what it is. Now, obviously, if you want to segment that into better campaigns or a little bit more targeted, then I would create a separate webhook, create a separate campaign, that sort of thing, and then you're going to want to dive in a little deeper and really hone in on that, right? So not to get too long-winded or off course here, but just make sure you check that and set up your campaigns and your webhooks appropriately. And so we obviously have created now our webhook, right? This is that table. And for those that don't know what a webhook is, essentially it's going to be always on and listening, right? So whenever data comes to that point, a webhook is going to catch that data, and then it's going to basically ingest it, right? So from here, what we're going to do is step one. So like any Clay table, you want to have your source, right? You're going to have your list. You're going to have your starting point of whatever you need to do with that data. Now, going through the workflow, and this is going to well exceed this particular video, but when it comes to Clay workflows, you want to score and process and vet, you know, the data and the list that you have through different keywords, scoring, you know, do your AI generation, making sure folks are vetted for who you actually want to reach out to. You know, obviously that's a million ways, and the beautiful thing about Clay, right? But when you get to that point and you know that you have an email address and that you actually want to reach out to that person, that is where, in my opinion, the end of the road is for that particular first table. And the reason for that is because, let's say I have the names, you know, I have the email address, I have rich LinkedIn profiles, I have their website, you did the Claygent, you did all the things as far as, you know, researching the prospect and things like that. That is where I'm going to send a personalized video to Weasley to be generated, right? And then from there, you're going to see here that it was sent, okay? Video was generated. And then from there, you're going to, once it's done, which is going to take roughly, I'd say, 20 to 30 seconds, give or take. But that's the thing, is you don't want to put that into the same table, because as of this recording, webhooks are not yet a column, right? I'm not sure if the Clay team is going to roll that out anytime soon, but the way it works right now is you want to send a video, and then that is where that waiting game comes into play. And programmatically, you just want to make sure that you're not having it as the next column to catch it, because you may or may not get an error, right? So we're going to send that to Weasley, right, to be generated, and whatever amount of time it takes to be generated, that video, that is where we're going to catch that video that's completed via webhook, right? And so we're going to let Weasley do that, and then it's going to come back to Clay here. And then from there, you could see that this is all the data that we have where the video is actually done, right? And then you can actually go back to Weasley, and let me just show you here. Go dynamic videos, and then we'll just go here. So you can see on this example, I generated it. And then what I did is you could just essentially hit preview, and this is going to be the generated video, right? It's a pretty clean looking landing page. So I essentially, you know, hit the video. Hi there, Brandon Charleston. Okay, and so without seeing double my face, right? You guys could get the gist of it, right? So you can have your client or prospect book a time that works for you, and yeah, that's really about it. And so as far as pushing it out from Clay, okay, so one thing you're going to want to do in order to retrieve that is we're just going to do add enrichment. We're going to do a lookup. We're going to do multiple rows, okay? And then table to search is going to be the step one. I recommend just doing step one, step two, that kind of thing. So we're going to do step one, And then we're going to, let's see here. We're going to do equals. Actually, I'm going to backtrack for a second. So we need to surface up this these details here. And so essentially what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick a data point. And other video platforms like Tavis, HeyGen, you know, that kind of thing, they're going to have a specific tag, right? So this is actually to the point where I'm still working with Weasley to see if there's actually some data that we can go off of. But you can see here, so the slug has the TM or TJM3, right? And then another point here, they have different webhook periods here. So event ID, that wouldn't be so much. But what we want to do, so web ID is 476. 476, there you go. So that's it right there. Okay, so we're going to do event ID. And you can see here, we're just going to do the lookup. And we're just going to select multiple rows. We're going to search step 1. And we're going to look at event ID. Let's see here. I need to surface the other one. Event ID. All right, so we're going to surface up event ID, and then we're going to go here. Step 1. I want to make sure this is the right one. Did I select the right one? All right, what is going on? Let's make sure that actually refreshes. I may have multiple tables that I'm working with here. So, all right, we're going to do a lookup one more time. There it is. All right, event ID equals, and then we're going to use this one, event ID. And then we're going to, we'll just go ahead and move this. So you can see it says 1 record found, and the beautiful thing is when I click into it, it's going to have all the records, and these are all the information. So then I can just pull the data from this first table, right? And then so I'll just hit name. So we'll just name that, we'll add that to that name, and then we'll do email. All right, and I gotta do this is once, because once you add leads programmatically to the step 1, it's gonna run through, and then the data is gonna be written, right? So we'll do email, and then LinkedIn profile, just for the sake of consistency. All right, perfect. Hey, editing Brandon here. So I went back and looked at it a little bit more just to make sure there was consistent results and not make sure I lead you astray to inconsistent results, right? So the best thing that I found in making sure that when you do a lookup is not exactly from the event ID. I'm going to talk to the founder to see if there can be some sort of unique identifier. But the best one that I found is actually just via the site, not necessarily the LinkedIn profile. I'm not sure why I populated that, but what I would do is to jump between the two. I guess the similar data or the data that you need to make sure is consistent between the two tables to make sure you're pulling the right lead. From what I found is actually going to be the website. And so I just went through. So obviously we're pushing first name, last name, and then in the payload, it's going through. We're pushing first name, last name, and then ultimately the website. And so you can see here, you could see just right here, it pushes that through. And then when I did that, and I did the same record lookup, so I did Weasley table demo, and then I did website equals website. So essentially I'm looking at the column for the website in the other table to make sure it equals that, and then essentially it's pulling that. So if you're reaching out to multiple people of the same website, this might show some inconsistencies, or your results may not be accurate. So I definitely would use that with caution. Make sure you're doing, one website per contact. And so Yeah, so I would just say, reach out to the founder, and I'm going to let him know about it too, because like I said, when it comes to doing lookups and sending API calls out and then receiving them back via webhook, in order to continue the data flow and making sure it programmatically will always work, especially when there's that variable time domain where you're generating a video and it's not always just right after, right? You want to make sure when you're doing a lookup that there's consistent data. So this is one way that I found it to be consistent. So obviously it could change with more updates and things like that. You may also find another better way, but looking at the data here, based on all the information that I see, the payload as far as being able to reference data to the other table is probably going to be the website. So hope this is helpful. Back to the video. Where do you send your data, right? And that is the big question here. So we have all the information that we need, right? We have the GIF, okay, or the GIF. If you're a Ted Lasso fan, it's one or the other, depending on what part of the country you're in. So we are going to use the GIF URL and then a video URL. Let's see here. Actually, we want to do a screenshot. All right, so there, we don't want it to be a downloadable one. There's the link. Let's see what this link brings us. There it is. Okay, we want the link. So we're going to send the link, right? So from here, we don't want to necessarily send a .mp4. We don't want to send a link so that they download a video. That's not really the end-all goal right here. So what we're going to want to do is, depending on your flavor and your preferred outreach or sequencing tool, this is where you're going to want to add or any sort of spin tags or message, things like that. This is essentially where you would finish your workflow and then send the data generated from here in order to go into email, right? You could do it through a number of ways, like embedding. You could send it through DMs if you're doing the growth machine or something like that. But at least this is the point where you decide where you want to send it, right? Just as best practice, and it's up to you. Obviously, things change all the time, but I personally wouldn't send a personalized video as the first one, because links and all that fun stuff just ends up going to spam. So just keep it boring, keep it basic. But then if you get a reply, or if you now you have confirmed emails, and you're landing in the inbox, and then let's say you have an inbound lead or something like that. These are all just scenarios that I'm just shooting from the hip, right? But this is obviously a really good tool. I recommend you just check it out. It seems as though it's ever evolving, just like a lot of SaaS platforms out there. But this is a pretty good polished Calendly and Cal and Loom all in one. But yeah, thanks again for watching. This video is about 20 minutes long, so if you stuck to the end, I appreciate your time very much. Hopefully you got some value out of this. I will continue to post content in order to help those who want to learn more about AI automation, especially with Clay. And again, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. And have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Take care.